Hello again, besties. I'm back for my second real video. I'm sharing 10 clay figure making tips that I've learned over time while working with polymer clay, from the handling of the clay to the final resin finish. So first, we'll be handling the clay. When you're working on your clay, the oils in your skin can make clay sticky. So to keep your clay manageable, use a small amount of cornstarch on your hands and sprinkle it a bit on your work surface. It makes the clay softer and it prevents it from sticking to your hands. But if you add too much of the cornstarch, the clay can get too smooth and it loses its stickiness completely. But don't panic. Keep kneading it with your bare hands and your body heat will reactivate the clay and it will kind of bring it back to life. Next tip is building an armature or your skeleton. For larger pieces or more complicated sculptures with lots of parts sticking out, you'll want to build an armature. This is essentially a skeleton made of aluminum foil and wire. It will make your sculpt lighter, saves on clay, and you'll have a more stable internal structure so your piece doesn't sag in the oven. And it also helps with baking because a thick solid clay can sometimes bake unevenly, so armatures really help with that. And for example, you want a larger clay keychain but don't want it to be super heavy, then you can use an aluminum foil structure inside and it will make it 50% lighter than if it's just solid clay. Number 3, preventing flat spots. If you place a rounded piece directly on a flat metal tray when you bake it, the heat and the weight will cause a flat spot to form on the bottom of your clay. So to avoid that, create a bed of cornstarch on your tray to act as just a soft pillow, and this will allow the piece to retain its natural rounded shape without any flat marks. And now for the post-baking tips. Tip number 4, correcting shapes. So if you notice a structural mistake, like if something got accidentally too lumpy, or if you have a wonky edge after baking, you can just use a fine grit sandpaper to sand it down and refine the shape until it's exactly where you want. Tip number 5, cleaning the surface. So I read a lot of posts about cleaning the clay surface, and there's a lot of conflicting info, but most of what I read is that before baking, use a Q-tip with a tiny bit of isopropyl alcohol, and this will smoothen the fingerprints and clean off dirt or lint. But if it's after baking and you still want some changes or cleaning, again use a Q-tip with a small amount of 100% acetone. This one is a much more powerful solvent than the alcohol, so it can actually dissolve the clay and you can lose your details, so make sure you don't over apply it. Tip number 6, adding color. I use acrylic paint to add color to my clay, but a lot of artists also use soft chalk pastels for gradients and blushing. Make sure you use high pigment soft chalk pastels though, because I think I made a mistake back then and I used a very cheap oil pastels and it didn't do anything to my clay, so just a side note for that. So you just scrape it with any blade or sharp tool to create a fine powder and brush it onto the clay for a softer look, and you can also knead it directly onto your raw clay to create some custom colors. Number 7, repairs and assembly. For joining the pieces or the parts that you have, you can either use super glue or there's this thing called liquid polymer clay. If you have a more complex build, you can partially bake your main piece and then take it out and then apply the liquid bakeable clay to the joint and then attach that new part and do the final bake. And this will fuse the layers together permanently. Polymer clay can be baked multiple times without damage as long as the temperature is correct, so make sure you know the right temperature for how thick your piece is because you can easily burn your clay if you bake it again. But if you just need a quick repair or if you need to attach those eyelets or the screws like with my keychain here, you can also just use a super glue and that can do the job. And now for the resin tips. Tip number 8, mastering the resin cure. If your resin feels tacky, it's usually an issue with your lamp or the resin quality. So I recommend UV lamps that are at least 36 watts or could go up to 72 watts. And I know that it's tempting to go higher, but I read that above 100-watt lamps can actually flash cure too fast and can cause the resin to go hot and it could warp. As for my lamp, I use this Melody Susie UV lamp that I also use for my nails. I have 4 of these, so it's tested and proven. But you can use any nail lamp brand as long as you make sure that it's around 36 to 100 watts. But not all resin cures well even if you have the right lamp. Some brands remain tacky even under proper lighting, so I use this brand here. Or just make sure that before you buy, read the reviews first. A lot of people there will give quality or stickiness info. 9. Safety and setup. First, make sure you work in a well-ventilated area and wear a respirator mask to avoid inhaling the fumes because resin is dangerous and it's a chemical, so make sure you are well ventilated. For my brush, I use a cheap dedicated resin brush. Don't bother cleaning it perfectly. Just keep it in a dark spot for your next resin session or else the brush can harden if it's exposed to some sunlight. And for your workspace, don't use the aluminum foil as a tray. Resin sticks to it and can ruin your paint job. I made a mistake back then of doing that. So instead, use a silicone mat. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It could be the cheapest of the cheapest as long as it's silicone, because resin won't bond to the silicone, so any drips can be easily peeled off once they're hardened. And as for my last tip, number 10, flash curing resin. If you're working on a bigger batch of figures and you have a problem with your resin dripping, the secret to this is flash curing. Instead of coating 5 figures at once and letting the resin sag and drip while you work, do them one by one. And I know it's kind of like common sense, but as a beginner you don't really know these things. During my first few resin trials, I used to have this problem with the resin dripping on the sides of my figure. Because my mistake was, for example, I'll be working on 5 clay figures and I would apply resin to all 5 of them first before putting them under the light. And at that time, I thought it was faster and more efficient, but I would end up with thicker resin on the sides, so I would have to reapply another layer of resin and another, and it really wasted my time to make it even, so don't make that mistake. So again, to prevent those drippage, do it one by one. Apply resin to one piece and pop it under the lamp right away to flash cure and set the resin, and then move on to the next piece, put it right under the lamp again, and so on and so forth. This stops the resin from moving and you'll have an even coat without those messy drips and resin icicles. So we've done it. Those are my current polymer clay tips, and my process continues to change as I learn more, and of course I'll continue to share them all to you guys. But if you besties want more of my digital brushes, my papers, my tutorials, or even some super cute rewards like this lucky Smithy here that I was making, I have a Patreon from $1 to $30, or you can even join as a free member. So thanks to all my Patreon besties for supporting. Shout out to you all. Anyway, I hope this guide was helpful and thank you for spending time watching it. Until next time guys, love you, mama.